Well, folks, this is a fun follow up to a video we did earlier today about how Donald Trump was the recipient of a rare public rebuke from none other than conservative Supreme Court Chief Justice John Roberts. What we're witnessing now is a widespread MAGA meltdown, as many prominent MAGA influencers are losing their temper, losing their minds, and not only calling for the impeachment of the initial federal judge who ruled against Trump, but are now calling for the impeachment of John Roberts himself for daring to criticize Trump. It's insane. But before we unpack all that, if you end up liking this video and you want to support the channel, please be sure to hit the like, subscribe, and alert bells before you go. All right, friends, for context here, okay, you may recall, Donald Trump advocated for the impeachment of District Judge Boasberg, an Obama appointee, for daring to rule against him regarding Trump's invocation of the Alien Enemies Act of 1798. Okay, went on this whole screed. And I also mentioned, and this is what I brought up here, that multiple elected Republicans, including Brandon Gill, a fanatical freshman congressman, have actually filed articles of impeachment. I just introduced articles of impeachment against radical activist Judge James Boasberg. He's guilty of high crimes and misdemeanors and should be removed from office. The high crime and misdemeanor, of course, is daring to rule against Donald Trump. You can't do that. You can only rule against liberals and Democrats. Don't you dare rule against Republicans or Trump. It's written in the Constitution. You can't do that. That's just the tip of the iceberg, okay? As Mediaite is reporting, deep state asset, MAGA world erupts over rare John Roberts rebuke of Trump. Trump's biggest fans were rather vexed by Chief Justice John Roberts' rebuke of Trump on Tuesday. Tuesday morning, Trump endorsed an effort to impeach U.S. District Court Judge James Boasberg over his order that the Trump administration stop deporting migrants under the Alien Enemies Act. We read that. I read you what John Roberts said, but as a reminder, all he said was, for more than 2 centuries, it's been established that impeachment is not an appropriate response to disagreement concerning a judicial decision. The normal appellate review process exists for that purpose. So, MAGA didn't like that. For more than 2 centuries, says Sean Davis, prominent MAGA influencer, the question of whether to impeach judges has been left solely to the elected representatives of the American people. John Roberts has no say in the matter. Go to his full tweet. Oh my God. Oh, wow. Okay. Man, he's pissed. John Roberts has no say in the matter, regardless of how much he wishes otherwise. Our Constitution gives John Roberts no power whatsoever when it comes to judicial impeachment, and it certainly doesn't give him the power to reject congressional impeachment when and if it comes. And to be clear, it doesn't, and I don't think that's what John Roberts was suggesting. And if it was what he was suggesting, he's objectively wrong. He does get no say in it. He's just giving his opinion. In fact, the unbridled arrogance from Roberts is the precise reason that judicial impeachment is now being demanded for rogue judges. Had Roberts done his job and restrained inferior judges from overstepping their bounds and claiming for themselves authority and power which does not belong to them, we would not find himself. We would not find himself. That's what it says. We would not find himself. I guess he would not find himself, or we would not find ourselves in this predicament. These calls are happening precisely because of John Roberts, not in spite of him. What John Roberts needs to understand right now is that his continued cowardice in the face of lawless judicial insurrection against the elected government of the people, not rightful criticism of judges, is the fatal threat to the legitimacy of the judiciary he idolizes. The more he acts like a craven politician, the more we're going to treat him like one. A smarter man than him would understand that the moment the Chief Justice is viewed as more than a slimy politician than a fair judge, it's over for him and his precious judiciary. Damn. All right, Sean. Chill, man. Cat Turd, top MAGA influencer, broke out the F-bomb. F Roberts. He's the reason we're in this mess. And then impeach John Roberts. So now it's not just impeach Boasberg. You criticized our dear cult leader, the Orange Messiah. How dare you? You get to be impeached now. Unhinged. Ex-Fox News producer Kyle Becker called him a deep state asset. Chief Justice John Roberts is a deep state asset. Convince me otherwise. Buddy, I don't think that's possible. I think anytime someone dares do anything that criticizes Trump or isn't commensurate with what Trump wants, they're a deep state asset in your mind. Their previous history. Again, folks, John Roberts authored what is potentially the worst Supreme Court decision, certainly in modern American history, and one of the worst of all time. When he gave Donald Trump presidential immunity, he effectively made it impossible for Donald Trump to ever be held accountable, or quite frankly, any president to ever be held accountable by courts of law if they go rogue and break the law. That was a gift to Donald Trump. And apparently that doesn't matter to you guys anymore. It's just like, oh, you criticize Trump? Again, all of that goes out the window. Town hall columnist Kurt Schlichter declared, John Roberts has the worst political instincts of any human being ever. It's remarkable. Well, he's not supposed to be a politician. I mean, in some ways he is, because again, let's be clear. These judges, liberal or conservative, they are not androids. And I think that we should not view them as wholly apolitical, especially when they don't behave that way. But again, what MAGA is complaining about here is not principled. They love partisan political politicians, but only if it's in their favor. The moment that a conservative or a liberal judge rules against them, then they lose their shit. DC Drano. Chief Justice Roberts has put out a statement saying he opposes the impeachment of federal judges that rule in favor of MS-13 cartel thugs. Someone should remind him that the Constitution allows for it, and he should stay the hell out of the political process. Interesting. Let's see. Tom Fitton of Judicial Watch, not an attorney, not a judge. This is all Chief Justice Roberts' fault. Philip Anderson. Chief Justice Roberts is a traitor and a coward. He knows damn well that these judges are wrongfully abusing their power to control the presidency. Americans voted for Donald Trump, not unelected, power-hungry, far-left judges. Again, that's the thing. Like, these people were just a bit consistent. We actually, believe it or not, I would have some sympathy for them. Don't get me wrong. I appreciate the fact that the judiciary is trying to check Donald Trump. But as I've said before, and this does not change even when Donald Trump is president, I do have an issue with the current conception of the Supreme Court. 9 unelected, unaccountable philosopher kings who are not subject to binding codes of conduct, binding ethics law, fact-finding mechanisms, that they can strike down executive orders and congressional statute but can't be checked in turn. That doesn't work for me. As I've been advocating for on this channel, I want every federal judge and every justice, liberal and conservative, to be subject to the strictest, most enforceable code of conduct. I think they should be audited by the IRS forensically every year. I don't think they should be allowed to own stock. I think they should be well compensated, but I think that if they choose to resign, that they're like legally obligated to receive a pension and that's it. They can't quit and go work for a federal contractor or like Boeing or anything like that. I think if you're going to have this sort of power and you're not going to be elected or subject to re-election or term limits or whatever else, then you should be held to the highest standard, ruthlessly investigated and audited. And certainly the shit that we're getting from Clarence Thomas about undeclared gifts to the tunes of millions of dollars, and Samuel Alito with the flag shit, flying the insurrectionist flags at his house. No. None of that should be tolerated, and it should be ruthlessly punished in a better, more just world. I agree with that. These people didn't give a damn about any of that. They loved, and as a matter of fact, they obstructed every attempt by Democrats to rein in the court with stricter codes of conduct, recusal, like basically making the court more accountable to the American people. Democrats also proposed term limits, court expansion, a law that would not only get rid of presidential immunity, which that should be the case, but also basically enable it so that every president gets to add a justice or two. I mean, it would rebalance the court and bring it more under scrutiny and more under accountability. They didn't care. They loved it. They thwarted it. They're, this unaccountable rogue court's ruling in ways we want. So screw you, libs. We're going to own the libs. And now they're complaining about this? Funny. Julie Kelly says Chief Justice Roberts confirms SCOTUS will sit by and watch the partisan, reckless federal judiciary torch the Constitution. Cernovich, totally out of line for John Roberts to involve himself in a political dispute. Eric Daughtery, why is Chief Justice John Roberts coming out against Trump for calling out the judge who tried to keep gang members, illegals in the U.S.? Why does he sound like he's a Democratic politician? Because everybody sounds like a Democratic politician to you unless they're kissing Trump's ass. There is no room for dissent in your party. You all are authoritarian cult of personality that should be relentlessly made fun of. And it's fascinating to me. It really is. Again, they are now calling for the impeachment of Chief Justice John Roberts for saying, hey, I don't think you should impeach judges because you disagree with a judicial decision. Now, again, to be clear, it is a political question. And there's nothing in the Constitution which forbids impeaching a judge because you don't like their ruling. So I don't agree with John Roberts in terms of the substance on this. I think that that's a perfectly reasonable, of course, it's also a slippery slope, right? Of course, impeachment's also a rarity because you need a majority in the House of Representatives to impeach, which they probably don't have. And then you'd need a 67 vote supermajority to impeach and remove. And while Democrats might want to get rid of John Roberts, especially after the immunity decision, there's no way in hell they'd clear the path for Donald Trump to replace the Chief Justice, which is what would happen. So just fascinating to me to watch the total inconsistency of MAGA once again. Again, it's all about outcomes. If you criticize Trump or rule against Trump, what you've done is you've committed a cardinal sin and you should be impeached. If you're an unelected, unaccountable, corrupt judge like Clarence Thomas or Samuel Alito, as long as you favor Trump, we're good to go, baby. It's pathetic. And I love to see the total MAGA meltdown. Let's see more of it, please. In the meantime, let me know what you think in the comments.